Hey, test pilot video here, trying to get myself back into the swing of doing it, talking on the move. So to be honest, that is the only thought process, is just to try and make a video. I don't know what I'm making a video about. There's been a lot going on in the time that I've been away. Where to start? What's going on right now? What's the issues? I know there's some nonsense kicking off in Israel right now. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm going to go into that one. I was just assuming it's the same old, but yeah, I don't know enough about that, so I'm not going to talk about that. Got the Russell Brand issue. That's quite an interesting one. Might go into that because I think it's a polarizing topic, and once again, I'm not on it. I've not got a detailed point of view because I've not been following the details. I keep myself distant from it, but it's hard to ignore. I don't like to be ignorant, so I'm not ignoring things, but yeah, I don't spend too much time on Russell Brand. But funny enough, this is like a resurrection of 432, trying to bring it back. And my first podcast, Russell Brand, was a topic of discussion on it, and Mark Devlin was on that episode, and we was discussing the implications of Russell Brand, whether he's a shill or not. And I think the point I was trying to make is, regardless of whether he's a shill or not, because I think, first of all, let's talk about that actually. Shills. What is a shill? A shill is somebody that's kind of, planted, a fraud, a fake, a plant, controlled opposition, somebody who's just there to misdirect you. And in that regards, Russell Brand seems, the picture he's painting of himself, or the picture that whoever's presenting him is painting of him, is of a shill. He is closely linked with the Fabian Society. There's another story there, but their logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So that's a very telling bit of symbolism there. You add to that, he sort of got launched in the 2012 Olympics, and he was playing the child catcher in that. The 2012 Olympics now, in hindsight, seem to be very revealing. That's a whole different discussion as well, and a massive topic that I would like to look into more. To be honest, I've just seen little sort of videos of the Olympic ceremony, and it is very interesting what they're seeing there. And I would like to watch the Olympic ceremony in its full, so that I can see for myself and dissect it, rather than just sort of chewing on the little tidbits that other people have made. But I haven't found that time, and I haven't seen the Olympic ceremony in its fullest. But I have seen stuff highlighting stuff that's going on. It's very weird. So yeah, he was launched in that, and that has connections to COVID and all sorts, really, the predictive programming permutations of the Olympic ceremony. So that's very interesting, that connection. So you've got the wolf in sheep's clothing, you've got the Olympic ceremony. He's had a book where he was the Pied Piper, and we all know what the Pied Piper is. It's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing again. It's the same thing. Playing his tune and getting people sort of following him and leading them to their demise ultimately. I think that's the story of the Pied Piper. So that's very telling symbolism once again. Same thing. He's tattooed up with the 33 and all that kind of stuff. He's had relationships with Katy Perry, she's what I call an Illuminatist. She's like blatantly pushing the agenda. She's one of those puppets. I'm not sure if I'm just getting this right, possibly Jemima Khan or so. I think he's had a relationship with a Rothschild as well, which is like in on it as it gets. So there's a lot surrounding Russell Brand that make it seem almost obvious that he's one of them, or he's not one of us, let's say. But with that said, I still give credit where credit's due, and I don't pay attention to it myself, but I'm aware of he's playing the part of the Pied Piper and he's leading people on that merry dance, but he is reaching an audience that maybe wouldn't be reached otherwise. And from what I've seen, there's another point actually which I made on my podcast, and I think is an important point in terms of his credibility. The reason I come across Russell Brand a lot is because he's always on my YouTube feed. Now, I'll be honest, I've struggled in the last few years because I've always sort of consumed from the likes of YouTube. I've been watching videos from back in the day when it was Google Video, not YouTube and stuff, and I've always found that a good source of information. But nowadays it's hard. A lot of people have been censored, a lot of people getting kicked off, a lot of people are having their content blocked and obstructed. Meanwhile, while all these content creators are having their content stopped, the likes of Russell Brand seems to just be thrust onto my content. I don't know, that's the algorithm, I don't know why, but I just find that a bit telling, really. It's like they're trying to prevent all this information getting out. At the same time, they don't seem to be trying to stop Russell Brand getting out. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They seem to be pushing him and promoting him. So as a consequence, I'm not watching him, but I see his titles. I've seen the odd video, and he makes a point to a point. So yeah, I'm aware he might kind of go nowhere with it, but ultimately I feel he is bringing a certain level. And most people, you know, no matter where you're coming from, nobody knows the whole truth anyway. So I pondered this. Is he playing a part for the movement, whether he's supposed to be or not? Even if he's supposed to be a shield, is he still presenting the information and creating more people who sort of feel disenfranchised with the system and so forth, and giving them food for thought that they might not have considered otherwise? And he's, you know, like I said, the Pied Piper would be taking them down the dark alley, whatever, but if he plants that seed and opens their mind to a point and then they go off elsewhere, which a lot of people might, maybe that's what they've not considered with Russell Brand, in their arrogance of trying to provide a controlled opposition, that in the process of trying to be controlled opposition, he is actually serving the true cause rather than actually a false cause of leading people astray. If that makes any sense. I feel like I'm confusing myself. One thing, another point I'd like to make about Russell Brand, actually, something I forgot, which I think is quite telling in terms of how you should sort of maybe perceive him, even though I've just sort of contradicted myself. Because like I said, I don't really need to consider it. I think all the symbolism points to the fact that he's not to be trusted. You know, he played the Pied Piper, like I said. Another thing he did, and this is what you've got to be conscious of, is he was doing all this talk and questioning the system and the status quo, the establishment and so forth, quite a few years back. Enough years back, in fact, that I can't even remember who was the Labour leader at the time. No, well, yeah, I do. It's Ed Miliband, and he was telling everybody not to vote. And then, literally the day before the elections, Ed Miliband turned up at his house, and they had a chat. I'm not sure why Ed Miliband would just pop up at Russell Brand's house, but you know, even that's like a little indicator maybe of his position. So yeah, Ed Miliband pops up at his house, and as a consequence of them having a talk, I didn't see the talk, but I know the consequence of the talk was Russell Brand did a U-turn and told everyone to vote Labour. And that's where you see the danger of the Pied Piper, because what he did there was he tuned into a certain demographic, he sort of funneled a certain audience. He got a load of people that were potentially, you know, disillusioned with the system, starting to go the way of anti-establishment, that kind of thing. And he tapped into that, and then ultimately led them, after saying not to vote for Labour. Labour has very big ties with the Fabian Society, so that all kind of seemed a bit scripted to me. So that's how the Pied Piper works, and I understand that because I seen that at the time. But I still wonder, in the grand arrogance of the whole system and how they want to play and how they're laying their cards out, have they underestimated the effect? Maybe not the effect that he has, maybe they've underestimated the people themselves. I do feel they just think that we're stupid and we're easily led. And maybe they put him there to play a part, and that part has actually backfired on them, and maybe he's actually waking more people up than he is leading them down the wrong, down a cul-de-sac as such. So there's something to ponder. And then I wonder now, with all this going on, is this part of the show still? Because it would seem like he's falling foul of them now. They're all turning against him and there's a witch hunt, and it kind of adds to his credibility as somebody that is anti-establishment. But on the flip side of that, or it's not even on the flip side, bit of reverse psychology, maybe they know that it adds to his authenticity as somebody who's anti-establishment, so that's part of the game, it's part of the show, as they would say. Speaking to a friend of mine today, somebody I hopefully will have on the show, but I'm not going to mention his name in case we don't, but if you ever see this, you know who you are, mate. But he said he thinks it's all one big show, and I tend to agree with him. And if it is all a big show, all a big distraction, Russell Brand playing the part of anti-establishment and then the establishment going after him adds to his authenticity as anti-establishment. So is it still part of the show? So that's something to consider. I've considered that with, you know, a lot of them. They've had it. I think there's a point with Alex Jones is a similar character. He's had it labelled at him, he's a shill, etc. Blah blah blah, and then they started banning him. And you think, well, if they're banning him, then that adds to his credibility as the opposition rather than controlled opposition. But then on the flip side, then you could then add to his authenticity as opposition by seemingly banning him so that he doesn't look like controlled opposition. So it could be like a triple double bluff and all these kind of things. So it's tricky basically, and I think if there's a moral to my story, a moral to my rant, that's it. Don't ever take it at face value. You got to flip it, then flip it again, then flip it again, and you got to consider all angles of these things. And I think that another moral to the story is, shill or no shill, it shouldn't really matter, because ultimately anyone who's presenting information is merely doing that. That's all I'm doing. I'm presenting information. Anyone that presents information is just presenting information. Nobody is the be all and end all of information. Let's say David Icke's another example. He's supposed to be like 80% truth, 20% not. But I'd say that's a pretty good percentage. So if that is the case, sorry, just navigating a bit of tricky traffic. If that's the case, that he's that percentage of truth, that's good going. Because I think anyone would have that level of percentage is putting out a good ratio. Because the most sincerest, wholehearted, absolute, bona fide truther, or whatever you want to call them, content creator, alternative media presenter, how can anybody be perceived or considered to have the 100% truth? You know, I'm coming from where I'm coming from, but you just got to take what you can from what I'm saying. I'm not presenting the whole truth because I don't know the whole truth. I'm just presenting what I can, how I can. And I think everyone has to be taken in that regard. I think trying to sort of elevate these people to hero status and, you know, role models and gurus and all that kind of thing, that's the problem. That's what's got us into this mess. That's how the media want to be perceived, and you've got to stop perceiving them like that. No one's going to save you, you've got to save yourself. So I'm aware of the likes of David Icke and Alex Jones and Russell Brand and whoever else you want to say. I'm aware that they might not be what they're presenting themselves as, but I don't care. I don't really watch Alex Jones, but if I do, if I come across him, I've enjoyed his content. I see he's got a lot to say that I can resonate with. I think he's presented a lot of information that can help a lot of people. Once again, he might not present the whole thing and he might miss out things, but does that matter really? I don't think that is a problem with him. I think that's a problem with the people. I think the problem is with the audience, not the presenters. It's the audience that needs to put things into perspective. So yeah, don't try see everyone as your great leader, your guru, whatever. Take what you can and leave the rest. And you can apply that to Russell Brand. He's got something about him that I've never quite, I don't know, it's just that whole talking fast hands, I just kind of picture him as, he's a bit hysterical, he's a bit of a clown to me. You know, once again, even talk about the symbolism, the guy's an actor, the guy's a comedian, and I can't sort of see beyond that in terms of him now playing his part. I think he's playing the part, that's the part he's playing. But nevertheless, when I have seen him within that part he's playing, I can respect him that he's a bit OTT, but he can make some points. He spills it out, and you know, from somebody that's trying to present information myself, I can respect his skills in terms of how he goes about doing that, because it is a skill. It's not easy. So take what you can from him and leave the rest. And that applies to everybody. Take what you can, leave the rest. Don't see anybody as a be all and end all. Nobody's going to save you. You've got to save yourself. So that's what I take. That's my take on Russell and the brand. I mean, even his name, the brand, you know, Brand X. Like I said, there's so much, but yeah, that's my moral of the story. You're going to be led astray if you're looking for a leader. So stop being led. Everybody's making a contribution, and that's how I see it. He makes his contribution. I don't know the be all and end all of it all. I don't know what part he's playing. I have my suspicions, but I don't think it matters. If he's getting more people on our side and he is leading them astray, then it's good to have him on our side, I'd say. And it's interesting where this is all going, and I, you know, even that I can see it from both sides of that. It's one, he's falling foul of them. Two, it's it's all a game, all a show to add to his credibility of being on our side. So we'll see. Anyway, that's me done. Hopefully I'll be back. I need to try and get more consistent with this stuff. So yeah, let's see what happens. Peace and love for now. Bye bye.